Hey, greetings travelers, and welcome back to Traveling Guru. I'm your host, Dennis Foutz, and this week we are going to take an inside look and response by the cruise lines industry's actions for COVID-19. How they are going to rebuild the trust back in you, back in me. The loss of life, the loss of economy for the cruise line industry has been devastating. But they have a strong response and feedback that I believe is going to create a wake to travel and tourism industry around the world. Well, if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's look at those top 5 ways that Royal Caribbean, Norwegian Cruise Line, and Carnival Cruise Line is responding to COVID-19 in 2020 and into the future. All right, let's go. So the number one thing that the cruise line industry is having to prove is they are safe, putting that credibility back out on the market. They need to test crew members prior to checking on board from those destinations that they hire, from Thailand, from the West, from China, from wherever they come from. So that's the new requirement. They are going to test them prior to embarkation before they surround themselves with other crew members and passengers. They're going to do those tests throughout their time while on board. Where does that come into effect? When they pull in to a port of call. Maybe they're pulling into the Bahamas or the Tortola. They're going to test them twice a week to ensure that they are safe. They're going to put more doctors on board. Can you believe it? I mean, it's wonderful that they have a doctor on board on a big ship like Harmony or on Oasis of the Seas from Royal Caribbean. But what they learned is from this pandemic and when the viruses really got out is that they weren't manned. They didn't have enough. So we expect them to also bring more doctors, at minimum of 2 in the future. We expect them to have more ventilators. This is sort of a no-brainer as the CDC's no sail order definitely is directing these cruise lines to bring the ventilators on board and is having that real heart attack from COVID-19. And then finally, they are going to create quarantine areas. As someone who's retired from the Navy, I totally get this. Quarantine areas, I would expect that they're going to probably in the lowest deck areas, deep away from, obviously, from everybody else and close to the medical bay so that they can be serviced. So great idea. Basically going to move them out, be very gracious, but they're going to put them down there where they can be isolated and then contained and treated very well, of course. So that COVID-19 sort of observation is definitely now in the forefront to keep people healthy and bring back their credibility. Now, on to number 2. Hey, at number 2, the cruise line industry knows they've got to bring down those cruise fares. Absolutely. And, in the romantic era, up to this point for cruise line industry, man, I remember as a travel agency, I'd see these cruise ships selling out 90, 120 days in advance. Imagine springtime and Christmas, where even the prices for Christmas are 3 times that would be, like in a February date. That's done. That romantic era is done. When their credibility got hit, so does their cruise fare. This is not about bringing new passengers on board. This is about bringing existing Diamond members for Royal. This is about bringing that trust back to them. And they know that to get them back on board, they need to prove it by being a little humble. Prices down. Well, that's what it is. I've seen it already. July, out in August, those fares have come down some 40% from where they were last year. And I expect it to be the same as we continue into 2020 and 2021. Now, on to number 3. At number 3, we see leisure travel coming back first. Corporate travel, potentially extinct. Looking at the world's policy, the idea is to bring leisure travel back. Once leisure travel is back in solid ground, then maybe we can bring corporate travel. But what the cruise line industry leaders know is that now with the popularity of things like Zoom and these other big group gatherings, corporations are realizing that they can create these big conventions just online, and they're really become very comfortable with it. Because of this, the cruise line industry is now realizing they don't necessarily want to push to corporate travel anymore. They're wanting to push more towards leisure travelers. This is why number 3 about having those prices come down is probably going to be staying for quite a while. Additionally, those things like prepaid gratuities and upscale dining may become the new norm all the way out through at least 2022. All right, now on to number 4. Now number 4 is cruise lines are going to start moving towards their own private islands in almost all recurring itineraries, maybe even coming back to those things like in Royal Caribbean on that perfect day in Coco Cay. They expect to continue doing this more and more, getting away from maybe pulling into Nassau, maybe getting out of going into Ocho Rios. A lot of this is, of course, is the risk mitigation of how COVID-19 stepped on board many of their ships, but it also allows the ships not to be rejected from these countries, which has happened when COVID-19 was at the forefront on their doorstep in the Caribbean, for example. Minimize their risk, minimize the rejection from countries, pushing into private islands, pushing into those repeat islands, fantastic, and a smart call by the cruise line industry. On to number 5. Number 5 is reducing the amount of cruise ships in inventory. This is a big reversal for the cruise line industry that on an average year basis has been moving into 3, 4, 5 ship growth across the cruise line industry. And we expected it for 2021 with the new Princess Cruise Line and Virgin Atlantic, for example, on Scarlet Lady. The impact has been so real and the requirement to mitigate that risk. For example, Norwegian line took 1 cruise ship out of inventory up in Alaska, leaving only 3 up there. Where does that fit into the Caribbean and other locations in the United States? Is that those 3 and 4 night cruise itineraries in the near future are probably going to go away in 2021. You're going to introduce those 5 and 7 nights. That will be the new norm in 2021. But those ships that were only doing those 3 and 4 night itineraries, we really expect those to go away. And it's really about going all the way back up to number 1, mitigating the risk by increasing manpower for medical professionals, medical facilities, and testing on their crew members throughout the process. And that is why number 5, you may see a very different look of what you remember in 2021 and beyond. So mitigating risk by lowering inventory. Hey travelers, hey, thank you for tuning in to Traveling Guru. Hey, what do you think? Do you like what the cruise line industry senior leaders are saying? Do you like what they're going to do in 2020 for you? How they're going to bring those costs down? How they're going to bring medical professionals on board? How they're going to bring the cruise lines industry? How they're going to bring their ships out of inventory? How they're going to incentivize the overall experience while keeping the quality that you expect? And even more importantly, how to have a good time without you really having to feel those safety precautions in place. Are you impressed? Is it sort of lame? Hey man, let me know. I'm more than happy to provide that feedback to their industry. Well, thank you very much. I'm Dennis Foutz, your traveling guru, and we'll see each other on the sea. Take care. Bye-bye.